Today I am creating Kaizen foam or shadowbox foam inserts for my tool chest drawers. If you don't know what Kaizen foam or shadowbox foam is, it is this type of insert for drawers that is custom shaped for your tools. I'm going to be cutting that on the CNC machine today, and we're using Fusion 360 to create the CNC files. I've found a pretty good process for doing this. It's not totally obvious, but once you know how to do it, it's pretty simple and straightforward. We're going to be using Fusion 360 and then two free tools. The first one is called ToolTrace.ai by the guys over at FinalRev, and then we're going to be using a free app called InkScape as well. So to get started, you're going to need a photo of your tools, and you're going to need a ToolTrace account. The first thing you do in ToolTrace is create a new ToolTrace, and we're going to upload the photo that we took of our tools. And ToolTrace wants us to select the sheet of paper. The tools don't all have to be on the paper, it just uses it for scale. So once we choose the sheet of paper, this will turn orange and then eventually green. And then usually I have to go in and make some adjustments here. It's really important to get the scale right. That looks pretty good. And then we're going to click this Add Tool button. Every time we click Add Tool, we select the tool in the image. We'll add another one, third, sometimes if there's not enough contrast, you need to search around for an area that will let you select it. There's the fourth one, the fifth, the sixth, two more, and the small one. Once we have all of our tools selected, you can see a preview of the outlines over here. For each of those, since these wrenches are not totally symmetric, I'm going to come over here to Tools and turn off Enforce Symmetry, and you'll see the shape in white here go from symmetric to wrench shaped. And we need to do that for each of these tools. Last one. The other thing I want to do in here is, since we're going to be cutting this on the CNC machine and creating our own cutouts to grab the wrenches, I'm going to turn the offset distance to none, and you'll see what happens over in this preview tab when I set that to none. And it gets rid of all of the padding around the wrenches. If you want, you can use different offset distances, but I've been using none pretty successfully. Then we're going to look at the preview of the layout. You can move these around, but I try to lay them out the same way they're going to be laid out in the drawer. But if you need to, you can move these around. They don't have to be perfect. You can see a couple of these have some strange bumps, but we're going to fix that later. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to download CAD and download a DXF file. Once that's downloaded, we open it in InkScape. When we're doing the InkScape import, we should have manual scale 1.0 and then hit OK. I always get this error message, but it doesn't seem to impact anything. And now we're in InkScape. We're going to zoom out, and the first thing that we're going to do is get rid of this box. When ToolTrace creates the DXF file, it actually includes the foam as well, but we don't need the foam here. So we're going to click each of these lines and just push the delete key on the keyboard. And then we're just going to select all of this and move it roughly up to where we had it on the paper. Now, when we import this as a DXF, the units are off. And so we need to come up to File, Document Properties, and then we need to change the format from pixels to millimeters. That's going to change the scale. If we go back really quick, you can see at pixels, the scale is 1 pixel per unit. When we change that to millimeters, it goes down to about 26.5%. What we need to do is copy this number, so Control C, and we need to set the scale to 1. And then if we tab off and close this box, you can see that the wrenches are huge. So we need to scale them back down by the same amount. So we're going to select all of these, go to Object, Transform, and that'll either pop up a dialog or it'll pop up this sidebar depending on your setup. And we need to go over to Scale and then paste that number in. But don't hit enter right away, we need to change it. We're going to change this 0.26 to 26.4583%. Make sure we scale it proportionally and then hit apply. And these wrenches are going to shrink back down to the same size they were before. So now we're going to zoom back in and move these back to where we want them. It doesn't really matter where they go, but I like to have them in the center of the page. Now, when we import these as a DXF from ToolTrace, they're made up of thousands and thousands and thousands of nodes. And so if we just zoom in on this one and we go into Node Tool, you'll see all of these different nodes that make this up. It's even hard to see how many there are, but if we zoom way in, you can see that each of these is a point. And so rather than creating curves, the DXF file is just a list of all of these points, and there's way more than we need, and that chokes up Fusion. So the first thing we're going to do is simplify each of these, because we don't need that many points to represent them. We're going to select all. That will select all of the nodes, and it should be this thick white line that you see. If you're not seeing a thick white line, you're probably not in the Node tool. So go to Node tool first, select all. Once we have them all selected, we're going to go to Object. We're going to go to Path and then Simplify, or you can push Control L. And you're going to see that's going to eliminate many of the nodes. That might take a while. I have a very fast computer and it still takes a long time. But you can see the number of nodes that we have now is much smaller. So once these are simplified, the next thing we're going to do is, if we look at the nodes right now, you can see that they're not attached to each other. Each of the paths is different. And so what we're going to do is we're going to select the first tool, and then we're going to combine all of those different paths together. So you can go to Path, Combine, or you can press Control K. We're going to do that for each tool. Control K. Selection is a little bit weird. In Inkscape, you need to click Off and deselect before you select the next tool. Control K. Control K. Control K. Now what I like to do is join all of the nodes that are close to each other, but not necessarily touching. Sometimes the DXF will, even when you combine it, the nodes are just far enough apart that they're not considered coincident with each other. But the fix is simple enough. Just select all of the tools, come up to Extensions, Modify Path, Clean Up Path, and make sure only this last box is checked. Join end nodes and separate subpaths where the distance is less than 5. Hit Apply, and then Close. And that'll make sure that any of the overlapping node points are actually connected. Now I like to clean up the models a little bit, and it really depends on how much time you want to spend here. I haven't been spending a lot of time, but I want to clean this little bump up and round it out a little bit. It looks like down here there's a little ledge on the smallest tool that I'm going to fix, and another one right here. So we'll just clean those up. I'll do the first one, then I'll fast forward. I'm not an expert at this, but basically if you select the line segment and then click on one of these little diamonds, you get these curve modification tools. And you can kind of play with it, the location of the diamond and the curve modification, and figure it out. That looks a little rounder. In little areas like this, I've also found that sometimes just deleting one of the nodes, the diamonds, can help a lot as well. I've also noticed that sometimes on the wrenches especially, These cutouts don't get cut out as much as I would like. So I like to open these up a little bit. That seems to be the biggest problem on the smallest wrenches. That's close enough. So now what we're going to do is we're going to export this as a DXF file. So we go to File, Save As, and I'm saving these as SVGs, which is Inkscape's native format, and then again as a DXF. That way, in case I have to change them later, I have the original SVG files. So these are the Husky ratchet metric. And then we'll also save it as a DXF file. Use R14 DXF. And then set your options this way with the only thing that should be on is LW polyline, and your base unit needs to be millimeters here. Then hit OK. That'll create a DXF file, and then we can go over to Fusion. So once you have your sketch created, we're going to go up here to Insert, and then down to DXF. Select the DXF file that we just created. And that will insert the DXF into your Fusion sketch. This is why I like to have them lined up when I take the photograph, but if you need to change them, you can just select them and move them around as you need to. So we're going to hit OK here. And that's it. Your tools are perfectly scaled inside of Fusion 360. And you can go ahead and extrude them into the foam and then export them into your CNC machine. Now, if that sounds like a lot of work, this entire process, then I highly recommend just going to ToolTrace.ai. After you configure the layout with the tools and view the design, they'll create the foam for you and ship it to you. And so, for example, this layout that we just created, they would ship for $39 and free shipping. So if you don't have a CNC machine but you still want this, the ToolTrace.ai tool makes it really, really easy to order these online. And this video isn't sponsored by them, and I have no relationship to them. I just found that it was a really easy way to get Kaizen foam tool inserts. That's it. I hope this helped.